Oh, hold on. I'll go here.
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's start this conversation. Let's start this conversation. We got no relation.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, on this wonderful, hot, humid, disgusting day. Yes, right now it is 88 degrees here in Pittsburgh with the humidity, oh, it could be like close to 90 something. You know, it's a hot one here. But, you know, I want to thank UPR Radio 100.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans, for allowing me to give you two shows a week, Sunday nights 8:10 to 10:10 p.m. Eastern, and on Tuesday nights 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, right after my show tonight, um, CL, she has her podcast, the Gateway Podcast, coming on right after me. And I do believe she got that Stroker dude again. You know, talks about vampires and stuff like that. She's gonna be mad because I said that, like the vampire stuff. But I know the dude. I can't pronounce his first name. I really cannot pronounce the first name. So I call the Stroker guy. You know, who does vampires. That's the only way I can explain. So after my show tonight, please go over to the Gateway Podcast and listen to CL's. Let me see. Okay, so we have some people in the chat tonight. We got, hey Heidi, drive safely, okay? Vet girl, good to see you. Kara, good to see you. Who else we got in here? Oh wow. Okay, we got some good ones in here. Yeah, I can't pronounce that first name, Heidi. To me, it looks like Darkay. I don't know. I'm sure CL will tell me something different later, later. But I don't know. But he deals with vampires. I know that much. But I'm going to try something different tonight. You know, I was looking at, and I was thinking, what can I do for Pittsburgh? For a show tonight. And I was thinking about why not talk about, the urban legends of Pennsylvania. So as I was going through the internet, uh, and I'm thinking, there's some that I've been to, some that I have not. But as I was going through the list, okay, this story popped up, and it's a legitimate story, okay. And I was surprised that there was a big article about it. Right now, the house is called the Conglier Mansion. It's over on the north side in Manchester. And there's a lot of old houses over in Manchester. There's a lot of old houses on the north side of Pittsburgh, and there's an area. It's called the Mexican War Street houses, and they are old, and they are so freaking haunted. It's unbelievable. Now I've been to a couple of the Mexican War Street houses and got a lot of good evidence. Got a lot of I mean, it was very, very interesting because when you walk into the houses over there in the Mexican War Streets, um, it they don't change a thing. They don't remodel or nothing in there. They just keep everything the same. It was really, really unique. A really unique experience going into the houses like that. There was a little town where my father grew up called Lawrenceville, and we went and did a couple investigations over in Lawrenceville. Now, if you look at the pictures of the houses over in Lawrenceville, okay, they're right next to each other. You know, they're small in width, okay, and they're right next to each other. But you go into one of these houses, okay, now that's an old area, and they're huge on the inside. Oh my God, they're huge. And oh, hold on. Kara says, I just heard a story about a woman buried alive at an asylum in Fairfield, PA, back in the 1800s. Huh, I never heard of that one, too, buddy. Never heard of that one. Interesting, Kara. Thanks for sharing that. But back to the Congular Mansion, okay? And when I started out back in 2006 with the investigating, this story was brought up a lot. This house was brought up, you know, into a lot of stories that I researched way back in 2006. And I know that makes me sound old, don't it? But, and totally forgot about it. Totally forgot about it. Because I figured since the house is no longer down, up, they tore it down and they put a roadway over it. But here's the funny thing about, or not funny, but the crazy thing, where that house was standing, okay, honestly, um, there were major car accidents there, right in the area of where that house was built. They tore it down. So even though the house is not there anymore, there's still a lot of accidents that happen around in that area. And what I read about, the mansion here, and I'm going to read it all to you. Okay, I'm going to try something different. You go on Facebook and you see those true detective uh, people who read, tell stories. But I'm not going to be as dramatic as them, though. I'm going to do. But I'm going to read it because it's very, very interesting. It has an interesting background, and I think everybody should want to hear about it. Um, because I know that the other people that listen in 160 different countries that are tuning into tonight's show, okay, they probably never heard of the Congular Mansion. Okay, so I'm just going to read about it and we're going to go from there. So before I get into reading, I want to know, how's everybody doing? Are you hot? Are you cold? Any mysterious ghosties hanging around? Something like that? Just want to know how you guys are doing. Um, I know it was a weird day today, but everything is going to be okay. That's the way I look at life today. Everything is going to be okay. Miss Jean Tewksbury, good to see you, hon. I'm glad you popped in. It was real nice to see you. So on with the story about the Congular Mansion in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that's where I live. And I got this post off of Facebook from the group Embrace the Dark Paranormal. Hey, Squatch Man. Good to see you, brother. Embrace the Dark Paranormal Facebook group. Um, And I'm going to read this to you. And just sit back, have some popcorn. Oh, you have a cold. Everyone's sick, Johnny. I'm a little bit under the weather. I don't know if it's because of the food, at the Golden Corral I ate today for lunch, but I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Maybe it's the heat. I don't know. But so I'm going to read this story, this article, produced by Embrace the Dark Paranormal on Facebook. So the dark history of the Congler Mansion in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Have you ever heard of the wild stories behind the scenes of the Congler Mansion in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA? This now gone location is a stretch of road now. The beautiful home was demolished and only road and woods remain in its place. However, most affectionately, still called the house and location the house that the devil built. America's most haunted house. So let me repeat that. The name of, the house was named the house that the devil built. It was America's most haunted house. The dark and strange history of the mansion in Pittsburgh is lost to time, decay, and destruction, but not to those who've heard and preserved the creepy stories. When you think of the most haunted houses in America, you probably jump right into the Sallie House or the infamous sinister-looking colonial in Amityville, Long Island, or even the home in St. Louis that inspired The Exorcist. But not every famous haunt has an empire of entertainment media to boost its reputation, whether factual or otherwise. The Congler Mansion might be an exception to the rule on this. Some of it really is a part of local oral history, and for the residents of Pennsylvania, most western city, Pittsburgh, the stories of the mansion made it more than deserving of the title, the most haunted home in America. It has been given several other monikers through the years, including the house the devil built. Okay. So, like I said, back in 2006, I heard about this mansion, and yes, there were a lot where the road was built in the area where the house was torn down. There have been major car accidents that have happened right around the area where the house stood. So it's like the house, the spirits or the devil still has control of the area in which the house was, and I guess it's including the road. But now the origins of evil. The house the devil built, America's most haunted house according to legend, the house on 1129 Ridge Avenue, was built in the 1860s in the Manchester neighborhood in Pittsburgh's north side. And the north side of Pittsburgh is extremely haunted. So much stuff going on down in that area. I mean, like I told you before, the Mexican War Street house is just anywhere down there on the north side. It's up near Allegheny General Hospital in that section above there. Charles Congler was the original owner and inhabitant, along with his wife Lydia and their maid Essie. Congler made a fortune as a direct result of the Civil War and moved his family north to settle in the booming industry town of Pittsburgh. Like many great tragic stories, it ends with infidelity and a jealous wife. Lydia, after discovering her husband and Essie were having an affair in a rage, took several knives from the kitchen and slaughtered her unfaithful husband and his paramour. I think that's what they call a housemaid back then. She was found by a neighbor several days later, calmly sitting in a chair with the severed head of the maid in her lap. Crazy. Well, it just tells me not to have a lot of money and, don't have a maid and have a relationship, because if I was married, I'd get, my head chopped off, I guess. But I don't know. But it's crazy, and it's not just this house. It's a lot of places that I have investigated to where there was a lot of stories that happened, not like this one, but where there was a lot of anger and jealousy and stuff, where wives killed their husbands or the husbands killed their wives, stuff like that. And you'll be surprised, honestly, you'll be surprised with all the negative energy that goes on in the house. You get like a cornucopia of different energies in the house, especially a house that has some real negative stories behind it. Now, the mad scientist. After the Grisly murders, the house was dormant for quite some time until a railroad company purchased it in 1892, planning to convert it into housings for their staff. After several workers complained of strange noises and unexplained happenings in the house, the railroad abandoned it and put it up for sale, where it remained on the market for several years until 1900, when Adolf C. Brunrichter, a German-born doctor, purchased the house. Brunrichter was described by his neighbors as a recluse who did not often partake in socializing and spent much of the time in the house by himself. But on the night of August 12, 1901, neighbors reported the sounds of a woman screaming and strange lights in the home. The police were called, and they were appalled to find the body of a decapitated woman and the doctor nowhere to be found. What comes next is straight out of American Horror Story, as they discovered a laboratory in the basement with several more body parts, and most horrifying, a severed head that Dr. Brunrichter had used in his ghoulish experiments to keep victims of decapitation alive after the fact. They face. The doctor was never seen again, though almost 30 years later, some believe he emerged from hiding in New York, drunk, and claiming to have conducted strange experiments in Pittsburgh. Police did not put much weight on the man's claimed identity and eventually released him from prison, deeming him harmless and never to appear in history again. We are at the bottom of the hour. Okay, I'm getting pretty close to the bottom of the hour, and you know what that means. It's 8:30 p.m. And what we're going to do is go on a little break here so I can wipe the sweat off my brow, use my fan. So anybody, if you have to go have a cigarette, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do. And I will see you back here in a couple minutes. Okay, we will play this one.
Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans.
Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast, where Navajo legends echo in the shadows. Darren and Dawn will guide you through the sacred fire of native storytelling, where the old stories breathe, the unknown walks among us, and voices, long hidden, rise to be heard. And remember, don't whistle at night.
Hey, welcome back everybody to Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. This is the second part of the show. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans, for allowing you to give me two shows a week, Sunday nights at 8:10 to 10:10 p.m. and on Tuesday nights from 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. Don't forget that Missy L. Thomas's Gateway Podcast is on right after mine tonight, and she's got Mr. Stoker. You know, I think he's like the great grandson of Bram Stoker, but I don't know how to pronounce his first name, and I don't want to embarrass myself, nor do I want to embarrass him. But in the first half of the show, we were talking about the Gonglier House, okay, which was bought by Adolf C. Bruckner, a German-born doctor. And one day, a lot of people heard some screamings of a woman, and when the police walked in, they found a decapitated body or head of the woman who was decapitated by this doctor. And the doctor and the head was never found again. But they did tear the house down after that and put a road on it. Now, it's really crazy about that, where the house was located. They tore it down, right? They tore it down and put, a major highway over it. But in that area, around the area, hey, Mark Eddy, and around that area, okay, there have been major car accidents that have happened in that area where the house was built on that road. And those are true car accidents. Hey, Cindy Simpson. So I remember back in 2006, this story about this house was really big back at the time, but like I told at the beginning, of the show, I just completely forgot about it until I was doing some researching for tonight's show, and this story came across, and I'm telling you what, I said, my people need to hear this story. So I want to thank, hold on one second. I did not look this up myself. I found this on the Embrace the Dark Paranormal on Facebook page, and that's who I got it from. Okay, so let me get here. Okay, okay. Now, as I continue with the story, if you want to catch the first part of the story of this house, please just rewatch the show again on my Facebook page or UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio YouTube page, or the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society YouTube page. So to continue with the story, there was a home for spirits. Thanks to its dark history, hey miss, thanks to its dark history, which only seemed to grow with each new tenant, the house developed a reputation as a home for wayward spirits, according to some accounts. Thomas Edison himself was one of the many who visited the house to investigate the notorious paranormal phenomenon. Along with Julia Murray, a psychic medium of the time, they claimed to encounter a malevolent spirit with the power to harm the living and the ability to travel beyond the confines of the house. Hey, Buck, good to see you, buddy. Buck says, hello, thanks as always. I lived on Western Avenue on the north side for several years. It's definitely more unusual than unusual. So true, Buck. It continued to be dormant of any new inhabitants until it once again purchased, this time by the Equitable Gas Company, again to be converted into apartments for workers. As before, the workers inside reported strange noises, disembodied voices, and 2 workers were discovered dead in the basement of the house. I did not know that. No cause of death or homicide suspect was ever found, and many of the men quickly moved out of the housing. The company continued to maintain a presence in the area, but in November 1927, a massive gas explosion resulted in spectacular damage to the surrounding area, leaving 27 dead and over 500 people injured. The house itself was totally destroyed in the blast, leaving only a crater in the earth where once the house stood. The site, however, wasn't free of its dark past. Just because the house was gone, several locals continued to report strange occurrences happening in and around the former location of the house, leading some to suggest the explosion was caused by the devil in an attempt to reclaim the dark and mysterious house for himself. Well, that's the story of the house. And I'm sure if I really researched it deeply, I could come up with some more stories about the house. But just to know that when they call it the house that the devil built, I mean, I find it very, very intriguing. Okay, like I told you before, there's a lot of places that I have investigated that it was way worse than this, and there's no way, okay, honestly, there's no way whenever a negative energy is in a house that causes all this stuff, it's so hard to get rid of. My friend Phil Saragusa, I've had him on my show a couple times, and he had a place up in New York that was like totally haunted. I might get him on the show again, so we can bring up his story. But I've had him on a guest for a couple of times, and I've read his book. Right now, I do not have it. I don't remember the book, but it's a very interesting story. And I really believe that the ghost that really haunted his house were part of the land. Okay, they weren't part of the house itself, they were part of the land. And I believe part of that was because of a Indian burial ground really close to the house. So if you're out searching for houses, okay, it's not so much the house that you seek that you really, really want to look for. It's the area. It's the land of the house that you need to buy is what you need to check out. You need to ask questions about it because here in the state of Pennsylvania, realtors do not have to tell you the house is haunted. Okay? They don't have to tell you. So it would be up to you to find out, the stories, the history behind the land. I mean, anybody can build a house. They have housing plans. Now, a story about housing plans is crazy. Up there in Penn Trafford, PA, about 40 minutes from where I live, okay, there was houses, a plan of houses. And we investigated one house up there. And they had a baby boy, and they were just scared, so they called us in, to see what the hell was going on. And we came up with a lot of good evidence for them. And whenever you try to go into a house and you try to clear a house or you try to talk to the spirits to go into the light, it's kind of hard when the spirits are part of the land because they leave the house. Okay. And once when my team would leave, then they would come back again, and start haunting the house again. But this plan of houses, that the one house that we investigated, okay, there was three other houses that called us up, okay, and they asked us if we could come and investigate their homes. And of course we did. We killed like three birds with one stone because I brought other people up with me, and we each took a house. But the craziest and strangest thing about the whole investigation on all those houses was we all came up with the same evidence. We all came up with the same type of orbs, solid orbs. Hey, Kevin. We got a lot of ectoplasma, which we call mist. Okay. And we come to find out, because we had like a little powwow after the investigations. And not right after, it was the next day. And we all came up with the same conclusion that it was like all different types, all different kinds of spirits there. Okay. We did have the Native Americans up there in Penn Trafford. There were a lot of Indian burial grounds. There were also a lot of revolutionary spirits up there because not too far from Penn Trafford, you have the battlefield Bushy Run. And that was back in the French and Indian War. And then you just had the plain settlers. So all these people are like experienced. I don't know what kind of like lit those spirits off or got them kind of pissed or whatever. I don't know. But they were just attacking all the houses. And we just came in and we kind of made a deal because we talked about this, kind of made the deal. It's like, you know what, guys, back off for a while and then, then see what we can do. And so it's like the land, the land. So when you go out and you want to buy a house, look for the history of the land. And we can go from there. Now, there are other things that I researched, other places that I have been to. Let me see. Okay. Now, there are other legends, other urban legends that I had done. Okay. Now, the Green Man. Now, I've had stories on the Green Man. Okay, his name was Charlie No Face, a real Western Pennsylvania man named Ray Robinson, who was severely disfigured by an electrical line as a boy, turning into a glowing nighttime spectral legend. And a lot of people have seen this guy. It was Pennsylvania among us, paranormal among us. Okay. And then you have the Seven Gates of Hell, which I've talked before about this on my show. And it's in York Township. It's rumored series of gates in the woods, finding all seven supposedly teleports you straight to the underworld. Well, nobody can get to the seventh gates, first of all, because there's a lot of signs that post that says no trespassing. Okay. And a lot of people do not go because up there in that area, they kind of like, I'm glad you got home, Heidi. They kind of like got guns out there to protect their property. And so they fire upon people if you cross into their um, land. So, a lot of people talk about the seven gates, but no one's ever actually reached the seventh gate. So it was a lore. Maybe there are seventh gates. Maybe there is an opening at the end of the seventh grade that will send you to hell. Then you have this thing here, okay, the squonk. Okay, now let me spell this for you. Squonk. It's a mythical, melancholy creature of the hemlock forest that cries constantly and can dissolve entirely into a puddle of tears when cornered. Now, I've heard many stories about the squonk, okay? And like I said, I have an open mind. Okay, so Heidi says, I was 45 seconds behind, but one of the seven gates of hell in Stall, Kansas. Oh, wow. So I guess everybody has a place, you know what I mean? Joni says, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I lived on Harrison City, Export Road. Were any of those houses you spoke about near them? No, dear, not at all. No, Joni. Mm-mm. No, these are like houses like way in the back. It was, I really can't picture it right now, but it was pretty close to the battleground. But I'm sure that whole area that you lived in up there with Penn Trafford, and Harrison City, it's definitely freaky haunted up there. And it's all due to the French and Indian War. Oh, look at this. Kara says they have the seven gates by Collinsville, Illinois. Huh. That's interesting to know. Your house was haunted. Oh, I bet it was, Joe. Heidi says Google FKN autocorrect can change install to still while pause was tapping on my leg. Oh, wow. And of course, we talking about Blue Miss Road. Okay. And I had done many, many stories on that. That's where I usually take the newbies to go ghost hunting is Blue Miss Road. It's a heavily fogged road said to host ghostly apparitions, phantom whispers, and remnants of a dark local cult. There's more. There's more to just a call out in that area. A lot more. But there's one big one here in Pittsburgh, and I'm sure there's something over there, over all over the United States. And we call it 13 Bends. Okay. 13 Bends, Bends. And the story behind the Bends, 13 Bends, was that there was an orphanage house that was built up on a hill. And it was set afire purposely. And it killed all the children in the orphanage. And when you go up, now you have to remember there's 4 different 13 Bends that people claim that are haunted. Okay, here. And I believe we found the one that was over in the McKeesport area. But we walked the 13 Bends. We didn't drive, we walked. Joe Fox said, "Hey, Sean, I'm just getting home. These last few weeks have really sucked. I'm truly sorry, brother, that they suck, but I'm glad you're here. Go get something to eat, man. Get a drink of coffee, smoke a cigarette, do something. You know, I'm here until for a little bit more." But, so when you walk up 13 Bends, you can't park on either side of the street. So you had to walk it. And when we walked it, it was the creepiest thing that ever happened to me. It's the first time I ever experienced all the birds, all the crickets, all the insects, all the animals, everything just went quiet. Total silence. And that blew me away. It really did, because it was my first time. Did we get good evidence on those 13 Bends? We did not. Okay. Did we get any good EVPs on the Bends? No, we did not. No. Okay. But like I keep telling everybody every show, I'm just missing watching your shows, buddy. I know that, buddy, but you know what? Eventually you'll be able to watch them all, my friend. But the biggest thing that each one of us experienced on that investigation at 13 Bends was all the birds, insects, and animals just got real quiet. You couldn't hear nothing. You could hear no noises at all. None whatsoever. And to me, when that happened, that's what made that investigation. It really did. And then I got time for one more story. Another place that we went to was down in Perryopolis, Pennsylvania. And it was called the Quaker Cemetery. Hey, John. Quaker Cemetery in Perryopolis. Now, Quaker Cemetery was built by, who are the main people back then? The Pilgrims, the Quakers. The Quakers, that was their cemetery back then. And here on the cemetery, they had like a little chapel on the premises. Okay. And I remember walking into that little chapel area, and I just it went from like 70 degrees outside to down to 30 the minute I stepped into this place. And it was a small little chapel, made out of stone. And then I felt somebody looking at me, like looking at my back, and I turned around and I saw this huge dark shadow that was standing in the corner. And it was the outline was dressed as a Quaker. I didn't stick around. I didn't stick around. We just went right back out and started investigating the cemetery. But I had a guy in my group. He went in and he called the spirit out. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Yeah, a Quaker, Kevin. Yeah, he looked like a Quaker. But this dude was freaking huge, man. Huge. And so the kid called him out, and something happened where they come running out, right? They come running out of that chapel. And then all of a sudden, someone took a picture of the big, dark, Quaker looking dude standing at the door. Oh, yeah, it was that. Yeah. I don't know who has the picture, okay, but we saw it. But here's the crazy part about the whole thing, okay. So we all investigated. So we got into our cars. We were parked on the side of the road. And so the guy who called out that spirit, when he was driving, and all of a sudden he got a flat tire. So he pulled over. He took the tire off. And as God is my witness here, okay, the flat wasn't caused by running over a nail or nothing like that. It was on the inside of the tire, with a slit about that big. It looked like a knife was punctured right through it. Right through it. And that was like really seriously crazy. Yeah, very trippy, buddy. And so we took it off, and I just said to him, I said, listen, dude, for you calling out that spirit, that Quaker guy in that chapel, this is what happens. And he said, well, I was hoping that would happen. I'm like, you're a nutcase, dude. You're a nut. But yeah, that was the biggie. So now at Quaker Cemetery, okay, you're not allowed to go and investigate the cemetery. They have the state police go up and down that road all the time because where the cemetery is, right, it's on a very dark, dark road. It's like a country road. And then you had this one cemetery that we went to. It was called Shades of Death was the name of the cemetery. And they had a chapel in their cemetery. The one side of the cemetery was all the old headstones, and on the other side were the brand new headstones. Okay. But the chapel, the 3 cards about MIB story, if there is time. Okay, go ahead. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, we got about 5 minutes, brother, if you want to talk about your B story. But those are some very, very good places to go. Shades of Death was very, very interesting. I have pictures on my Facebook page of different things that we caught at the cemetery at Shades of Death. And then we did an investigation in the chapel itself. And I had a freaking asshole that came with us. And he deliberately pushed the Bible off the stand. And that kind of like threw that investigation out the door when he did something stupid like that. Yes. But we're at the 50-minute mark here. Okay, we got about 3 minutes. So, Kevin, do you want to talk about your B story? I don't think there's going to be times enough to pull a card tonight for anybody. But if you want to tell your B story, Kevin, please, feel free. I will repeat what you have to say. But you know what? While we're waiting for Kevin, I'm going to pull one card, okay? I'm going to pull one card here. I'm cutting them because I shuffled them before the show. And everybody write this animal down and then just Google it to see what's happening. how this animal that I'm pulling for you is going to make it right for you this week. And the one that I just drew is the hummingbird. Oh, the B story is above. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I pulled the hummingbird. So everybody, what I'd like you to do is actually go and look it up, the spiritual meaning behind the hummingbird. So let me see about the B story with Kevin. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Kevin says, was out with that girl tonight. We seen a bee go in one direction. Tiny sparks of white light and appeared in opposite direction. Portals. At the least, it was not a truck this time. Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing that, brother. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, everybody. It is the end of the show. Don't forget. And okay, living in the present. All right, let me get out of here. I mistake our dragonflies for hummingbirds here. Oh, okay. But everybody, I just pulled the hummingbirds, what I did pull. So everybody write down the hummingbird and then look it up, Google it, and see the spiritual meaning behind the hummingbird. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. It was kind of different this time around. I had a good time because I read a long thing, a story on the place that I thought has been very, very interesting. If anybody has any gripes, complaints about me or my show, okay, please, email Michelle DeRoche at UPRN Talk Radio and, complain all you want, or else if you want to write her and say, you know what, Sean is like the best podcaster out there. He's cute. He has a lot of good stories and he talks well, and, you can leave it up, whatever you want to tell Michelle, feel free. You're welcome, Heidi. You're welcome. Oh, Mish says it's living in the present. Wow, that's interesting, Mish. Mish said, yes, we will contact Michelle. Please do, Michelle. Please. But, Mish, please do. So everybody, children, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents and if you have no children, please find somebody, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And please remember, protect the children. We really need to protect the children. Don't forget, C.L. Thomas's The Gateway podcast will be on right after mine at 9:15. So, good night, everybody. Enjoy your week. I will definitely see you next Sunday. Goodbye.